Before we begin, this is a dramatized story inspired by real opportunities in specialty farming. The characters are fictional, but the farming economics and market pressures are grounded in real agricultural realities. Every year, shoppers notice garlic becoming more expensive, yet few wonder what happened before that bulb reached the shelf. Robert, a 58-year-old garlic grower, understands the hidden story. Months before harvest, he must choose seed, prepare soil, estimate labor, manage weather risks, and guess what buyers may pay later. One season, his crop looked excellent, but profits disappointed him. Another season, yields were smaller, yet his income improved. That contradiction changed his thinking. Garlic was not simply a crop with a price. It was a business shaped by costs, timing, quality, storage, supply, demand, and marketing. Robert decided to uncover why prices keep rising and why higher prices do not always make farmers wealthy. That realization made the market worth studying early. Robert's farm was modest, but every garlic row had a purpose. He knew garlic demanded months of planning before the first bulb could be harvested. He had to buy planting material, prepare the ground, manage fertility, organize workers, and protect the crop through changing conditions. Robert remembered Daniel, another grower who expanded quickly after seeing attractive garlic prices. Daniel planted more acreage, hired additional workers, and expected higher sales to create easy profits. Instead, costs climbed. Some bulbs missed the quality buyers wanted, labor became difficult, and harvest expenses grew. By the time Daniel sold his crop, his larger harvest had not produced the fortune he expected. Robert learned the difference between revenue and profit. A rising market price could create opportunity, but it could also arrive alongside rising expenses. Growing more garlic only made sense when the entire production system could handle it efficiently and the final selling price left enough margin after every major cost. Robert realized that adding more acreage alone could not solve the margin problem. The first pressure on garlic prices often begins before consumers see garlic anywhere. Farmers pay for seed, land preparation, fertilizer, irrigation, equipment, labor, fuel, packaging, and transportation. When several expenses rise together, producing each bulb becomes more expensive. Robert could not simply ignore those costs. If he sold at yesterday's price, his margin would shrink. But the store price was not the same as his farm price. Between Robert's field and a customer's kitchen, garlic might be cleaned, cured, graded, packed, transported, stored, distributed, and displayed. Every stage requires time, labor, energy, and equipment. If fuel becomes expensive, transportation costs can rise. If wages increase, handling costs can rise. If storage becomes more expensive, holding inventory costs more. Eventually, those pressures can move through the supply chain and reach consumers. Robert realized that the price tag on a garlic bulb represents a long journey, not a single farmer's decision. Those costs eventually move through the entire supply chain quickly. Then comes the harvest gamble. Garlic farmers make decisions months before they know the final market conditions. Robert can study previous prices and estimate demand, but nobody can perfectly predict weather or yields. Too much rain may create disease problems. Drought can reduce bulb size. Poor conditions can lower quality or reduce harvest volume. If a major producing region loses supply, buyers may compete for fewer available bulbs, pushing prices higher. Yet the reverse can happen. When growers see strong prices, many may plant more garlic. Months later, abundant supply can weaken prices and leave farmers disappointed. This delay makes agriculture different from businesses that can quickly increase production. Robert is constantly responding to yesterday's market while planting for tomorrow. A high price today can influence planting decisions that affect supply much later. That is one reason garlic prices can rise sharply in one season and fall unexpectedly in another, even when consumer demand remains strong. Robert knew the next season could reward him. Robert eventually understood that garlic has a hidden calendar. What shoppers experience today may reflect decisions made many months earlier. A farmer sees strong prices and considers planting more. A supplier sees demand and adjusts seed availability. A distributor watches inventory. Retailers watch customers. Meanwhile, garlic continues growing underground, where nobody can see the final result. That delay matters. Robert cannot order finished bulbs overnight when prices rise. He must plant, protect, harvest, cure, sort, store, and prepare his crop. By the time his garlic reaches buyers, the market may have changed completely. This means a high retail price does not automatically produce high farm profits. Robert began studying the entire timeline instead of focusing on one number. He wanted to know when costs were paid, when garlic became saleable, how long it could remain valuable, and when demand was strongest. Timing, he learned, could matter almost as much as yield. That was the hidden calendar behind the price shoppers noticed. Robert also discovered that garlic bulbs do not all have equal market value. Some were large, clean, attractive, uniform, and suited to premium buyers. Others were smaller or less consistent and belonged in different markets. A restaurant, supermarket, processor, farmer's market customer, and specialty food buyer might value the same garlic differently. That difference created a powerful opportunity. Farming more did not always mean earning more. Sometimes the smarter strategy was producing garlic customers considered worth paying extra for because of variety, freshness, flavor, appearance, origin, or story. Robert also became serious about curing and handling because quality could disappear after harvest. A beautiful crop could lose value through damage, poor storage, or careless grading. His goal changed. He no longer wanted only more bulbs. He wanted more valuable bulbs and fewer losses. Every stage, from planting to selling, became part of protecting the final price. Value became everything. Storage added another layer to the mystery. Garlic can be harvested during one period but sold over a longer window, so proper curing and storage can matter enormously. Robert learned that storage is not free. Buildings need maintenance, equipment uses energy, workers handle inventory, and losses can occur. Yet suitable storage can give a grower more choices. Instead of selling everything immediately after harvest, Robert could potentially hold quality garlic and decide when to release it based on market conditions and customer demand. That strategy did not guarantee higher prices. Markets could still move against him, but storage gave him flexibility. He began seeing harvest differently. Harvest was not the finish line. It was the beginning of another business decision. He asked when each bulb should sell best. Now imagine Robert's garlic leaving the farm. Before reaching a consumer, it may pass through several businesses. Each performs useful work, but each carries expenses and risks. Garlic may be transported long distances, packed into standard units, stored, distributed, and placed on store shelves. Fuel costs can change. Trucking availability can change. Labor costs can change. Packaging can become more expensive. Energy costs can rise. When several pressures appear together, the final retail price may increase even if Robert produced his crop exactly as planned. That is why blaming one person for rising garlic prices often misses the bigger picture. Robert began studying the full chain because he wanted to understand where value was created and where money was spent. He noticed something important. The grower closest to production does not automatically receive the largest share of the final consumer price. Between farm value and retail value is a chain of services, costs, risks, and decisions. Those costs move through the entire supply chain. Demand creates another pressure. Garlic appears in homes, restaurants, sauces, seasonings, processed foods, and countless recipes. Consumers may complain when prices rise, but many continue buying because garlic is difficult to replace completely. That steady demand can support prices when supply becomes tight. Robert watched restaurants closely and noticed that chefs often cared about quality, consistency, and reliable supply rather than simply choosing the cheapest bulb. This showed him why specialty farming could work differently from commodity farming. A grower selling ordinary garlic into a crowded market may have limited control over price. A grower offering distinctive, high-quality garlic can sometimes compete through value instead of price. Robert did not suddenly become rich. He simply became more deliberate. He started asking who wanted his garlic, what they valued, and whether he could sell closer to the final customer. That question became the beginning of a different business model. Robert wanted customers who understood why his quality truly mattered. Robert knew better than to confuse sales with profit. A farmer could sell thousands of dollars worth of garlic and still have surprisingly little left. Seed, land preparation, fertilizer, irrigation, labor, machinery, fuel, curing, storage, packaging, transportation, market fees, spoilage, and taxes can consume revenue quickly. Daniel discovered this the hard way. He celebrated a large harvest because the market price looked excellent. After calculating every expense, his excitement disappeared. Robert used that lesson differently. Before expanding acreage, he calculated what each additional acre would cost and what quality level he realistically expected to sell. He also considered labor capacity. A larger farm is not automatically better if the grower cannot harvest, cure, grade, store, and market the crop properly. Robert stopped asking only, "What is garlic selling for?" He began asking, "What remains after everything is paid?" That number, he realized, was far more important than the headline price. His farm needed a business plan, not acreage. This was where Robert saw an opportunity hiding inside the price problem. Instead of competing only to grow more garlic, he could work toward producing better garlic and selling through channels that rewarded quality. Direct customers might value freshness. Restaurants might value dependable supply. Specialty buyers might appreciate unusual varieties, strong flavor, or local origin. None of these opportunities guaranteed success, and Robert still needed efficient production. But the lesson was powerful. Sometimes the strongest opportunity is not increasing volume. It is increasing the value captured from each bulb. Robert improved packaging, explained his garlic's origin, and began building relationships before harvest. He was no longer waiting until the bulbs were out of the ground to think about sales. He was developing a market while developing the crop. That gave him more control and reduced dependence on one anonymous buyer. When prices moved, Robert had something valuable beyond volume: relationships, quality, and a clearer understanding of who was willing to pay for them. So why does garlic seem to become more expensive? There is no single permanent answer. Prices can be influenced by production costs, weather, supply shortages, demand, transportation, storage, labor, imports, currency movements, and market conditions. Some seasons bring several pressures at once. Other seasons bring abundant supply and lower prices. What looks like a simple yearly increase is actually the visible result of a complicated agricultural system. Robert finally understood that consumers see the final number, while farmers experience the entire chain behind it. A price increase can hurt shoppers while still failing to create exceptional profits for growers. The same market can reward one farmer and punish another depending on yield, timing, costs, quality, storage, and marketing. Anyone considering garlic farming should therefore look beyond the headline price. The real question is not simply what garlic sells for, but how much value remains after producing, protecting, storing, transporting, and selling it. That was the difference between watching prices and understanding them. At season's end, Robert stood beside his harvested garlic and made a decision. He would not chase the market blindly. He would not plant enormous acreage simply because prices had risen. Instead, he would focus on what he could control: crop quality, careful production, efficient labor, proper curing, sensible storage, customer relationships, and smart marketing. He understood that farming always contains uncertainty. Weather can change, costs can change, buyers can change, markets can change, but preparation can improve the odds. Daniel had tried to win by producing more. Robert wanted to win by understanding more. That difference shaped his next season. He would still grow garlic, but he would treat every bulb as a business asset rather than simply a harvest. For anyone watching from outside farming, the lesson was becoming clear. Rising prices do not automatically create profitable agriculture. Understanding why prices move, calculating costs, protecting quality, and choosing the right customers can matter much more than simply expanding acreage. His strategy was simple: grow carefully, calculate. Garlic prices rise when the balance between supply, demand, production costs, logistics, quality, and market conditions changes. But the deeper story is about value. A farmer who understands the crop, controls costs, protects quality, chooses suitable varieties, manages storage, and reaches the right buyer can potentially capture more opportunity than someone who simply plants more acres. Robert learned that lesson one season at a time. His farm did not become a magical money machine. It became a more disciplined business. And that distinction matters. If you are considering garlic farming, do not begin by asking how high the price is. Ask what it costs to produce, protect, store, and sell quality garlic, and who will pay enough to make the entire operation worthwhile after every cost is paid. Subscribe for more farming stories.